sort of be slow this morning considering the temperature on my outside thermometer when I left the house, 31 degrees. Well, that's not what's supposed to happen on this day in September. Well, we know Randy will not be here this morning. He has a commitment that he couldn't get out of. Where Chris is, we are unsure. Is anybody here? Oh, okay. Well, we have a quorum of 3, and we're going to go forward because there's a bunch of stuff to do.
Okay.
I don't intend to let him get by.
He's coming in.
Hey! Oh, you're finally here. I love doing that. When I was teaching, I used to, at the hour, I used to lock the door. If they wanted to get in class, they had to knock. It seemed reasonable to me.
What's the next surprise?
All right, Chris, thank you for being here this morning and this cold September morning.
It's beautiful.
It's 31 degrees.
That's awesome.
Hey, better
Mayor, why did you pick him?
Because him and I are brother and sister. Oh, yeah. We have the same views and everything works. Yeah, definitely. And we have to get under your skin once in a while. Right, everybody?
Yeah, well, you're awfully good at it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, call the meeting to order. A roll call, that's been taken, I am assuming. Public comments, there are non-commissioners, but not public. Those two are official. Approval of the minutes of the August 10th, 2023 regular meeting. Second? Second. Thank you. Any corrections, changes, or discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries, the minutes are approved. Request to recommend that the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee recommend council approval of budget resolution number 25-2023, transfer of debt service to EMS, presented by Finance Director. What's really the right way to pronounce that? Selinsky. So the second E has got a kind of I quality to it. Yeah, okay. Well, you're on board, or on deck, so.
All right, good morning. So the purpose of this budget resolution is essentially to allocate what we levied this past year as a part of the tax levy to pay for debt service that the EMS is responsible for. So if we back up, in 2009, the city issued some taxable general obligation bonds for the construction of the fire station. And at that time, the EMS fund was allocated a portion. And then we fast forward, they're making the payments fine to 2019 when we refunded those 2009 bonds and paid them off. And at that time, the EMS fund was allocated $1.4 million for $8 million of that debt related to the fire station. So the EMS fund continued to pay the principal and interest payments all the way through 2022 when we learned that the EMS fund cash position couldn't support those debt payments. So we included the 2023 payment $168,950 in the tax levy as part of debt service. When we collected those proceeds, they were all deposited in the debt service fund, and the loan was paid from there. What really should have happened is we should have deposited them in the debt service fund and then transferred them over to the EMS fund, because we aren't wiping away the EMS fund. We're just simply using a different revenue source to pay for it. Instead of fees, now it's the tax levy. So what we need to do is make a transfer out of that debt service levy into the EMS fund to make it whole, because the money's already been paid, but we're just going to follow the actual transactions. And going forward in 2024, we are also at this time set to levy that portion of the principal and interest payments, and it will be recorded as such in 2024, so we don't have to come back and do a budget resolution. So with that, I'm recommending that the Police and Fire Commission recommend Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee approval of Budget Resolution 25-2023.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve the budget resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments of the Finance Director? You know, I can't resist saying it. The Commission knew nothing about any of that stuff. And I appreciate you getting hold of it and making it straight, if that's, I don't have the accounting terms, but thank you for that. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the budget resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is, Bill, you want to do the news?
The first three items on the updates relate to traffic incidents. I'd particularly point out the first one, Cleveland, Ohio. I had mentioned that some time ago when the actual incident occurred, where a firefighter was struck at the scene of a traffic incident. The motorist that was involved was sentenced to life in prison for the vehicle homicide. The second set, we have another citizen coming to the aid of the police. Of particular note, for small departments, the Goodhue, Minnesota Police Department, the entire department resigned over salary issues.
Both of them?
There were actually 5.
Oh, okay.
There is another town in Minnesota, I believe it is in the Iron Range, that may suffer the same fate. And again, it's on salary issue. So Goodhue is in, let's see, south of the Rugby area. The other one, you've got to see this, you have to find the video to see this. This occurred in the New York City suburb. A gun-waving pedestrian stopping traffic and threatening herself. And Nassau County officer in a squad car actually sideswiped her. There was no way that the officers could get at her to get the gun away. And he came in and just kind of bumped her, and then everybody jumped into the scene. To see it on video is really amazing. The other one is turning the page. Austin, Texas. Austin was one of the cities beset with defund the police, reorganize the police. Since 2020, they have lost plus or minus 800 officers. They are way below strength. Their budget's been cut by $150 million. And auto thefts in that period are now up 77%, murder rates up 30%, aggravated assaults are up 18%, and last week I found a posting from the Austin Police Department. If you were robbed coming home from the bank, or if you were robbed at an ATM, they will not respond. You call their 311 automated report line, and they get to you. Travis has the information from California. I don't know whether this has been passed, but somebody had introduced a bill that would prohibit police officers from making traffic stops for single equipment violations. And then with 9/11 just earlier this week, it's interesting when you go back to each of the celebrations or memorials for 9/11. Everybody can tell you how many firefighters were lost. They can tell you the number of airplanes. They can tell you the flight numbers on the airplanes, how many targets there were. But the number of police officers seems to get forgotten somewhere along the line, even though at the World Trade Center site, they are there with the ceremony and the officers' names are read off. But there were 72 law enforcement officers who were lost, as you can see on the list. From the Port Authority Police, it's 37, NYPD is 23, New York State Revenue agents, court officers, and then one each from FBI, Secret Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, and a fire marshal. And at this point, I'd just like to make a suggestion that when we get a new police headquarters, if and when we get one, that we designate the training room as room 72. I think it would be a great honor to do so. So when the appropriate time comes, whether we have charge of internal names or that's got to go to public works, whatever, that is my suggestion. The next item.
Thank you, Bill. The next item is approval of the fire department bills. If you wonder why it takes me so long, is these aren't my reading glasses, and I have to concentrate on the type. And don't smile too much, Travis, because your turn is coming.
I know it is. That's why I'm smiling.
Great. Last week.
All right, fire department.
All right, good morning. You'll see two sets of bills. The first was approved by Commissioner Hansen on August 30th. The second by Commissioner Kirschman on September 13th. A few items of note. On page 7B, you'll see the bond trust for $23,950 that was presented by the finance director. Other to note on page 7C, Fire Safety USA. You'll see two level A suits for 24-23. Just want to let you know that this is part of a grant. Will be reimbursed later in the year as part of my hazmat grant. On page 7K, you can note that the Motorola, easy to say, bill for $64.67, that's the radio for new car 7. That were the things that I thought was of note. I'd ask for your approval and or entertain any of your questions.
Questions?
Yeah, on the ladder testing, is that where they stretch the ladders out and put weights on the centers?
It is an inspection, and then there's heat sensors that they have to replace on them also. Yes.
Excuse me? Heat sensors on the ladders.
Yep. There's a special sticker, for lack of a better term, that goes on the ladder so that if we would have a ladder on the side of a building when there's a fire, if it's too much heat gathers onto it, that sticker changes color. So then we know that it needs to be inspected again prior to going back into service.
Okay, that's like the temperature sensor tape they put on people's foreheads.
Yep.
Only sensitive to different levels of temperature, I hope.
And there's a lot more to it, Everett, if you wanted to.
Yeah, Commissioner Pinker, there's also that ladder testing also is all of our aerial ladder testing as well. So that's why it's a little bit higher. They do all the drift test, you have to make sure it goes around in a certain time, make sure it has a drift test, has all those things. So all of our ladders get tested on an annual basis, whether it be one of our ground ladders or whether it be one of our aerial devices that are attached to our apparatus.
Out of curiosity, on the ground ladders, are ours all aluminum or do we have aluminum fiberglass?
Aluminum only,
Aluminum only.
correct. Fiberglass doesn't do well with heat.
Okay, anything more? Need a motion to approve the fire department bill.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second to approve the bills of the fire department. Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by, roll call. Oh, yes, there is a little bit RC here. Would you,
Pinker,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Keo.
okay. There is an RC above this for the budget,
Because it was money related.
money related. Well, I missed that. Neil said yes, so we're not going back. Approval of police department bills.
Morning, thank you.
Officer Esser.
You have 2 sets of bills in front of you. The first was signed by Commissioner Pinker on August 30th. The second set was signed by Commissioner Meek on September 13th. Kind of just 2 things probably to note would be in the second packet of bills. I don't have the page number, but it's the first page of your second packet that you probably received this morning. 2 larger amounts in there. One is for ADCI, who is our design consultant for the potential acquisition of the new building. So you'll see that $20,000 and 68-cent bill in there. That's just a portion of that. And then the other large one is right below that for Axon. This is for our first out of 5-year agreement for our body cameras and tasers through Axon in the amount of $82,000 some dollars. You'll see that we used $45,000 from the LEA grant that we had gotten last year to pay a portion of that. So other than that, the rest are pretty much run-of-the-mill bills. But I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I got a question about the body cams. We're using Axon. I looked at videotapes from other departments or from news agencies, and they show the body cams. It looks like 99.9% all have the Axon symbol flashing in the corner. Do most make these?
They do, but Axon definitely has the market. They've made pretty much the most robust system. They back it all up with cloud-based
Sort of like
storage.
roll with the radios?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And obviously, they not only do that, but they do our fleet cameras and tasers as well. So, pretty large company they've morphed into.
The PD did have a different company before, but didn't work out too well.
Yeah, we had pretty poor luck with our previous body camera manufacturer.
Any other questions or comments? Need a motion to approve the police department bill.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments or questions beyond what we've had? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by, oh, God. All
Pinker,
right,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Keo.
yeah. All right, bills, motion carries. We do fire department activities and correspondence and so on next, right?
Yep. Thank you. A few things you'll note in the activities report. During the month of August, you're going to notice numerous days that Deputy Chief Mueller was out in the community at multiple locations conducting sprinkler tests and alarm tests. I just want to point out that this is a great value to overall safety of our community and a large value to the businesses that are paying to have these systems installed. Deputy Chief Mueller has found numerous issues that were mitigated due to his efforts, helping the business community out and then also helping with safety. You'll notice a lot of them this last August. I'd also like to recognize something you will not see on the activities report. Last month I was asked what the plan was for my old position as the Blue Shifts commander. I had a plan, but hadn't spoken to the people yet. so couldn't give details, but now I can. On the blue shift, we have 2 lieutenants, Barnes and Altman, both respected and accomplished. Lieutenant Barnes has seniority on the department and in position. Traditionally, the senior person has the right to step up into the next position. We're in a unique position because Lieutenant Altman is ranked highest on the deputy chief's list. I had a meeting with both lieutenants and discussed how I believe it would be the best for the department if Lieutenant Altman would lead the blue shift so he could gain experience with myself in the station and have the support of the long tenured Lieutenant Barnes. After our meeting, we were all in agreement to go with a plan. I'd like to thank Lieutenant Altman for accepting the challenge of leading the blue shift, but would also especially like to thank Lieutenant Barnes for showing the courage and caring to help support Lieutenant Altman and the department in this. It's very amazing to have people on my team that care not only about the department and the long-term goals of the department. They're not just about the monetary gain, because there's some extra pay to step up into that position. So Lieutenant Barnes truly cares about Lieutenant Altman, the department, and he should be commended. So I wanted to basically point that out right here. Also note, Blue Shift will be working short, not only on personnel, but on officers and, for the upcoming time. Other things you'll see in the report, you'll look at incidents in August. We are down a bit from last year, staying consistent with the yearly trend. We're on pace to have the second highest totals in the history of the department. In August, 24% of the time, 2 or more ambulances were out at the same time. This is 1 point off of the yearly totals. Also right now, I'd like to take the time to just give some updates on 3 significant fires we've had. 1 in August and 2 of them in the first week of September. On August 20th, the central fire downtown, Deputy Chief Weiland was the incident commander, did a great job. The origin was in the southwest portion of the basement. The cause has just come out that it was the dehumidifier. On 9/2, we had a fire at 404 West 5th Street, a shed fire. Deputy Chief Jonas was the incident commander and did a great job there. This was the north exterior of the shed. This cause is still under investigation. They're reviewing some camera footage, police reports, and some information right now, so that hasn't been completed. On 9/4, at 1401 East 4th Street, Masonite, we had a fire there. Lieutenant Christopher was the incident commander, and once again, did a great job. The origin was the west interior of the building near the ceiling, and the cause of this one is undetermined. Once again, we had another busy month. I'd entertain any questions.
Questions from the commissioners?
On page 9A, we have a squad committee visited Marion.
Yes.
Is Marion going to do the rehab on that unit? Or is that still up in the air?
That's where we're headed, yes.
Okay. Then on 9B, on the 10th of the month, the Youth Fire Center Intervention and Prevention Student Meeting. I assume we have students in the program now?
We do.
Are you able to tell us how many?
Do you know how many are in the youth center program?
There's approximately 2 students right now.
Okay.
1 is active and 1 we're still working with to get into the program.
Okay. On the 16th, Red Shift provided fire extinguisher training to the Mama Bears Child Care Center.
Yes.
Are you doing that with live fire or one of those simulators?
Simulators.
On the 22nd, any problems with the food trucks?
22nd being, that would have been.
Fair.
Fair.
Oh.
No, this year, actually, I think through a proactive approach that we've taken, started under Chief Fletty when he was the Deputy Chief of Fire and Prevention. We've continued to get the information out early. We send a packet out to all of the vendors that are gonna come to the event so that they're aware of everything that would need to be done before they even get here. That approach has really helped, and we've also done that throughout the city of Marshfield when we have other events. And it really has been proactive and at least not having to send someone home.
And I don't want to preempt anything on your report, but I think something that runs parallel to this, and I'll pass this around to the other folks. Greenwood just purchased a new ambulance. I know Deputy Chief has been at the council and he's telling the council what these cost. Greenwood spent, they had $359,000 cost on the ambulance. One. But they did have a $100,000 grant, which they used. And the other one, this is up from the Cornell area. They have been installing landing pads for use of the medevac helicopters. And most of these are going in supported by contributions and donations of time and material. So they've got a number scattered out there through portions of Chippewa and Rusk County. Last year they had numbers in there, I believe it was 14 uses where they needed the pads. So that way they don't have to shut down the highways. And if obviously you've got trees along the highways, this can create a problem.
I have a quick question going back to the dehumidifier cause of fire.
Yes.
This isn't the first time I've heard this. Outside of this entity, I've heard that a lot of structure fires are caused by dehumidifiers. Do you know if they've changed over in the recent past, if they're the cause is overheating or what it is? Because I'm wondering,
Sure.
for the public to know, maybe they need to look at replacing theirs just like I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think number one, and maybe we can get the website, but there's make sure when you buy a dehumidifier, you register it. Okay? Everyone gets that little card that you just throw away because you're like, why am I registering that I have this? Especially for a dehumidifier, register it, because then they have your name. So if there's a recall, they can let you know. We're finding out that many of these humidifiers are made in the Pacific Rim countries, and that there's some defaults in them. Whether it could be that they continuously run and they don't shut off and they overheat, or there can be arcs that there's connections that are not tight in them. So there's a bunch of them with recalls. So that would be number one, to make sure you register your appliance, especially those. And then there's checking out websites to see if there's any recalls that are out there. I know places, big box stores that sell them, that if you buy them, if you go on their sites, they have their recall lists on things. So checking out, doing your due diligence on that. Newer, older, as long as they're clean. That's the other thing that they're finding out with these fires when you go back, is that have they cleaned the filter on these, making sure that they're being maintained. The legacy dehumidifiers, you can hook a hose to them. That was normally an issue because if you have a hose to it, they just keep running. They don't just shut it. They don't shut off, and falsely shut off. So there would be a fail-safe if you're using the tank, and then it shuts it off. But now we're finding out that that doesn't matter with some of the failures that are happening with a new dehumidifier. So back in the day, we'd say be a little safer. Don't have a hose on it. But that's not true anymore. That doesn't matter. So basically making sure it's not recalled, making sure you keep it clean. Those are the two best things that you can do if you have a dehumidifier.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Going along with the chief's comment about where these are made, on the East Coast, fire inspectors are finding on a number of different types of electric devices counterfeit underwriter laboratory seals.
Yep, especially with these chargers on those e-bikes and things like that, yes.
Yeah. Anything any more?
I just have one question on 9H on the graph. The number that jumps out to me is, I don't know if this is normal that it's that high, but false alarms are like 1% of your calls. And it's nothing you can really do about it, but it just jumped out at me because as you guys struggle with personnel, 1 out of 5 calls, you got somebody out there that, you know, it's just gotta be frustrating.
Yeah, I can maybe say a couple things about that. For our false alarms last year, we went to a fee schedule for that. So the first false alarm, that one is free to the public. So if you get one in your business, that's a completely free one. After that, we go to a $500, and then it goes up $500 each time they come back.
Okay.
The goal there, we're trying to curb the problems that are in the system. A lot of them have to do with duct sensors, things like that are up inside the fire alarm system. And that kind of helps them to be more proactive and possibly getting those repairs made sooner.
Sure. I kind of wondered that if it was part of a malfunction of equipment like that.
Yeah. Honestly, we have we've seen over the years people that have had systems that they're not maintaining or choosing not to maintain, causing many incident commanders. We know you get called out to a certain address. It's, you know, you've been there 5 or 6 times in the last 2 weeks, and once we've gone to this fee schedule, that's really starting to help. And I don't think we're ever going to get away from false alarms, but I think that number, I'm hoping, will improve.
I was just kind of, I didn't know if it's normal to be that high or whatever, but it just kind of jumped out at me. And it kind of goes, you know, I guess the moral is it goes back to fire prevention too, you know, it's being responsible for your own equipment and things like that, you know, same thing with the dehumidifier, you know, it's prevention.
And that's a great thing that through the Fire Prevention Bureau, using the compliance engine, a few things that we've implemented over the last few years where we can keep track of issues with alarm systems, sprinkler systems, things like that, where we can be on top of it and be proactive, talking to the business owners, you know, CBRF owners. That has been a big tool for us to be successful to in prevention, not only making things safer, but also enforcing the laws that are on the books to make sure that people are being in compliance and maintaining their equipment.
And he did mention with the Bricer compliance engine, that's one that we partnered with. That allows us to see the reports. Every one of the, anybody that would be doing maintenance on the system, they basically have to go ahead and upload that documentation to that system for that profile, meaning that business. Then what we can do is we can look at it, we can find if there's any deficiencies in that system, and we can come back and actually tell them that they need to make sure those repairs are made. So that's really curbing a lot of this. And then through our proactive approach during fire prevention, we do 1 annual inspection at every business in the community on an annual basis, which is about 1,500 inspections. So that helps us also to try to find some of these problems, and we are starting to kind of see a little bit of a decline in our false alarms, but I think that's going to take some time.
The one thing I would like to note of the data, especially on the fire side, is that, remember, this data is what we find, not what we're dispatched to, because that can be totally different. We can get paged out for and we have in the past. I give you an instance where we got paged out for an apartment building on fire, you go there, and what it was unfortunately, it was a juvenile with an old cell phone that called 911 that had some cognitive issues, and that's what it turned out to be. It wasn't anything. So in the data that you'd have, that would go under a good intent call, but really our resources and us going was for a apartment complex on fire. So just letting you know that the data you see isn't, like I said, what we get dispatched for. It's what the actual incident is. Because that can change your data and that can change your resource management on what things are. So.
I'll make a quick comment. I remember a discussion on the commission about calls, false alarms and billing and so on, charging for them. We didn't want to be in a situation where people were reluctant to call because they would face a $500 cost when there was really a fire, you know. There's a balance there someplace. And I don't know if we're in the right place with all of that. We'll have to see what the data does over the next year or so. But, anyway, anything more? Thank you, Chief. We go on to item 10, and then we'll go down to item 12, and I need to comment about those two items just a bit. I got calls from both of the chiefs about these issues. That seemed to me that they were both good ideas, and they had an action plan that made sense. I knew better, I should have known better, and it got past me, and I said to both of them, go ahead, you know, it's fine, you know. And then I had a conversation with the city attorney to learn that I was wrong. It's not that the chiefs did anything that they shouldn't. It's that I told them to go ahead without taking all of the steps that were required. And for the other commissioners, as a general rule, if you can find any money involved with it, whatever the idea is, that means it's going to go to the Finance Committee and the Council. If a chief is able to do what they want to do using money that's already been budgeted for the year, we don't need to go to the Finance Committee or the Council. But if it carries over into a next budget year, that needs to go to the Finance Committee and to the Council. Because the only one that can obligate money that isn't already in the city's pocket is the Council. The memorandums you have seen at a minimum are going to require a signature of the commission. Commission's going to have, you know, we have Jody Clements and the head of the union on the first one, item 10. As the attorney, city attorney says, the chiefs cannot obligate, don't have authority to obligate this kind of agreement. They can send their firefighters into deadly danger, but if it's at $200, they got to get everybody's permission. It's nuts. But it's the way it is. So I asked Jody to redo the signature page and leave a line for the commission where the president could sign. I did that this morning, and so we're clear on this one. We send it forward, and if anybody wants anything more, we'll provide it. But we've taken the steps that we need to. So I would entertain a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between the fire chief and Lance Christopher, representing the fire union, firefighters union.
I move for approval of the memorandum of agreement.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or discussions? I will say that this one seems to me, as I told Chief Clements, there was a problem. He looked at it, he suggested a solution that made sense and didn't cost us any additional money. I thought it was a good idea and something to move forward with. We just needed to take a step that I didn't pay attention to. Yes.
And just so we all know, as far as the impact on our budget, this is actually positive. We're actually gonna be spending less for this, because a person on sick leave is kind of costing you resources. This is gonna reduce that loss, and we're gonna be able to use this employee in a way that's gonna work with their restrictions. So as far as impact on budget, this is positive.
So anyway, we have a motion to approve. We need a roll call. Are there additional comments or questions about what's going on? All right, roll call, please.
Pinker,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Keel.
Yes.
Thank you.
And as I told you when we first talked about it, you had a problem, you found a solution, it was a good solution, and thank you.
Thank you for your support.
All right, the next item on our agenda is police department activities, training reports, and correspondence.
Thank you. Pretty much a normal month for us in August. Just a couple of things to point out on page 11A. The first item number, or date number 15. I met with Brandon Lenz. He's going to be starting an internship with our police department. He's a Mid-State Technical College student. Brandon is also a transport officer and one of our volunteer auxiliary members, so he has some connections at the department already, and we're looking forward to spending about 80 hours with him in the coming months to make sure that he complies with everything that he can get credit for his internship through Mid-State Tech. So we're glad to have him on board. Right below that, you'll see that Detective Matt Barris had the opportunity to go and do an internet safety presentation at the Everett Rail Marshfield Public Library. We get quite a few requests for that, especially with school starting and internet being a challenge for a lot of parents and students. And then on page 11B, on the 29th, I had the opportunity to meet with our values committee. I think we spoke about that at last month's meeting, that we are looking at revamping some of our values at the police department, and that was brought forward by a group of members at the department, and they're kind of leading that. And so we're continuing to work through that, and we hope to have some values to present to you in the coming months after they continue to meet and sort their way through that. That's about all of note that I saw. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Are there any questions from the commissioners?
What is the safety stick?
That's basically a version of spike strips for usage in pursuit.
Is this just a newer version?
It's just a different manufacturer. So I know that Chief Gehrig had some interest in looking at those in place of the strips that we have. The strips are sometimes a little bit cumbersome. They're like an accordion. They fold up, but you have to extend those out and then kind of pull them tight. And so the sticks are more of a like lay them out kind of thing. So we're just evaluating whether or not we might want to make that switch or not.
Is every car vehicle equipped with?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
On 11B, on the 21st, civilian response to active shooter events. This looks to me to be something fairly new. Is this going to be presented at other locations?
It's not new at all. I've been doing those for many years. And in this particular one, we got to go to Columbus High School. We were invited there, so Detective Barris and I both went. We have 5 of us at the police department that are trained in going and giving these presentations, and we've gotten invitations to go speak at churches, schools, businesses throughout the community. And we probably do those outside of COVID. We've probably done those almost every other month, so we get requests for those fairly frequently, and they're very well received. So if you know anybody that wants one, we come in and do them for free. It's about a 2-hour time commitment, but we usually get really good feedback on that presentation. It's not something that we created. We get it through a company where we do or where we get all of our law enforcement response to active shooter training. So it's very well done.
Thank you.
Anything more?
Yes. We've got this response training. As I've gone through the reports over the last several years, I haven't seen anything regarding human trafficking, any responses to the community. Could your people put together a response to traffic or a general information program about traffic?
We could. We have a few folks trained in that area, and there are trainings offered throughout the state on that. Thankfully, that hasn't been a real prevalent problem here in Marshfield, but it's something that obviously we need to be trained on and aware of and prepared for. So we could do something like that.
I was doing at NCTI. Very interesting presentation. And on October 5th, down in Southwood County, there's going to be a presentation at the Millen Library. Somebody from this community also is going to be there.
Okay.
Anything more?
I'd just like to point out Brandon is my nephew.
Oh.
Well, I'm sure glad you did that.
And he's got to be a quality fella.
He's a good kid.
Yeah.
Sure. We're happy to have him.
All right, thank you for your report and all the activities that are involved. Item 12, we have the same issue here we had with the memorandum of understanding with the fire department. It requires, and because this involves money, and as the commission understands, we have authority to do darn near everything, but nothing, we have no authority over money. Well, once the budget is approved, we have authority over its spending. The agreement, the memorandum that's in your packet, basically commits the school district to sharing the cost of the school resource officers, because they see the school resource officers as a benefit to the school system that is worth paying for. And of course, the police department and the city see the school resource officers as a benefit to everybody. I mean, it's a very successful and helpful program. But once again, I missed a step in the approval process. And so the signature page will require the commission's signature as a sign of its approval of this memorandum. I talked with the superintendent yesterday. They will not deal with this until October. The school board will not deal with this until October. So we're not pressed real hard for time. And then the other thing, let's deal with it there. What I would like, no, I guess I have to deal with the other thing. Bill and I talked before this meeting, and he's gone over the agreement and the language in the agreement very carefully. And there are some things he's found that I think are reasonable concerns about the language. And it's the lawyer's language, and it's all of that stuff. So what I'm going to suggest is Bill and Travis, after this meeting, you sit down and go over it in detail. I don't know that we all, terrific. I don't know that we all need to go through that. But I would like a motion to approve this memorandum of understanding on the condition, or with the condition, that the signature page and so on be changed to include the commission. And that you review the language in the document, starting with Bill's editorial comments. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there are two conditions. One is the signature stuff and one is review of the language. Okay. So I would accept a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between Police Department, Commission, City, and the school system.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On 12C, let's see, the font's small, so bear with me. It talks about, 12C, I believe, it talks about the cost for how much the school district will pay.
And
Actually, it's on 12E, I apologize. 12E, number 4, under cost A, it references Schedule A, and I can't find Schedule A as far as their shared costs.
there's no schedule attached, that's correct. I can tell you that the dollar amount is $95,000. Now, that is the school district's contribution to the cost of the program to the city through the police department. There's a part of me that says if we've got that kind of contribution, that's money coming in. Why do we have to? But we do have to go through the city's process for money because that affects next year's budget. That's unanticipated income, if you like. And so the number that has been tentatively agreed upon is 95,000. And I think that's believed to be the largest share of the cost of an officer without fringes and all that sort of stuff.
That's singular, that's plural. So.
In effect, they'll pay for one, we'll pay for one.
So being that we don't have Schedule A, that cost is today's dollars or next year's dollars. Is that something subject to change within Schedule A and annotated as such? Does everything rise in costs over the years?
I think at that point, the MOU gets revisited for that purpose. I have it in here, 12K, it's just a little paragraph, Schedule A, I don't know if it's just not, if it's on the back side of one of your sheets or not, but it is laid out in there, the annual cost.
It's on the back side of the blank one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow.
The font is just so small.
It is kind of small.
That really looked like a blank page when I was this part way up.
When it's that small, don't read it.
I was looking for those grids for salary schedule.
Oh, yeah.
That makes a huge difference, thank you.
All right, so we're in a position where I'm asking for a motion to approve this memorandum.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second to Steve's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. So we have a motion and a second to approve this draft of a motion with two conditions, one having to do with the signatures that are required and the other having to do with, what was the other one? Oh, working through the language on this draft. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Oh, I'm sorry, I am sorry. Freya?
Pinker,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
and Keel.
Yes. Thank you, and again, I apologize that this business of roll calls, I don't understand. We go to war with roll call. Items for future meetings. I intend to talk to the chiefs between now and our next meeting, and I'll ask them for a report on a couple of things. Nothing all that major, but I intend to add that to the agenda. Anything else that anyone thinks is coming forward that we need to deal with?
If it would be possible to have Detective Burris come in and just give us an overview of what's happening with internet crime and crimes against children over the internet.
Okay.
Okay,
Put that for next meeting.
that would be fine. And you know, it doesn't have to be a long thing, but he can hit the highlights and
Sure.
we can ask questions if it's needed. Anything else for the good of the order?
Oh, at the council meeting the other night, it appears that the Joint Common Council Fire and Police Commission meeting about the engineering and architect study for the potential new police headquarters will be on October 4th, 5:30 at the 2nd Street Community Center. I assume the city administrator is going to get an email out about that.
Okay, October 4th, the old library. And I would expect that to be a longish, not gonna be done in 20 minutes.
No, I don't think so.
If you can make it, that's something we asked for.
I guess they,
I responded to Art that I would be there.
Thank you.
because the original, I think, request was October 5th on the email.
Email I got was the 4th.
4th, okay. But I think the original email that was sent out was asking about the 5th, and I think the majority came back on the 4th.
The reason I'm particularly, always be particularly concerned is that you're the only one on the commission that's making a living. The rest of us are just hanging out. All right, if there is nothing more, I will call for adjournment to the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor, aye. Good enough.